name is Ajisha Alwin, and I'm the ESA Student Sections Social Media Webmaster and Marketing Officer for this term, and I welcome you all and thank you all for joining us in the third webinar of our series, An Unconventional Graduate Journey. And today we're going to be talking about graduate opportunities during lockdown. And we have a very special guest speaker with us, Dr. Jorge Ramos from Stanford University, and he's been a longtime supporter of the student section. We all love him. So I'm gonna give him the floor to give us a little bit of an introduction as to what he does and his experience with grad school and anything he has to say to us before we move on to the topics. Dr. Ramos.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ajisha. So my name is Jorge Ramos, and yeah, like you said, I've been a supporter of the ESA student section. I was going back through, when I saw your Twitter post, and I was like, when did I start with the student section? It was 2009, and that's because of colleagues that invited me to be part of it. So I think it's, what you're doing is great, and students supporting students is the best thing you can do. And, the student section has also moved ESA to do better things. So I think you all have a lot of power, just, use it collectively. And it's, so that's like my first, empowering the students. So keep doing what you're doing. So I work at Stanford University. I'm the Associate Director for Environmental Education. Jasper Ridge Biological Preserve, which is it's a natural preserve that is like a mile south of the campus of Stanford. So it's like a 15-minute drive, and it is a space for research, for education, and for developing new ideas for conservation purposes. So it's a really awesome place for doing fundamental science, for doing applied science, but also to, design new practices for conservation. And that involves technology, methods, even some theories have come out of the Jasper Ridge Biological Preserve. So it's a great spot. And the really good thing is also that we host, more than 30 courses from different departments. So there's biology people that work there. There's people from earth sciences. We have geologists, we have historians, we have music professors also go there and do research. So yeah, it's a really good spot, and it helps. I like it because I get to work with students, especially because I get to teach. I co-teach a course with Professor Rodolfo Dirso. And so he's been teaching it now with another person, Cindy Wilbur, but she retired. And she actually used to be the SEEDS chapter member, the SEEDS chapter advisor for the Stanford group. And after she retired, I took her job. And so now I'm the mentor for the SEEDS chapter at Stanford as well. And yeah, so that's a good spot. So I recommend, if you're in the area, if you're in the Bay Area, or well, not right now, but whenever the crisis ends, if any of you want to visit, just let me know, and I can host you all. Or if you have a SEEDS chapter in your institution, or even if you don't have one, you want to organize a group of students to come visit Jasper Ridge, let me know, and I can host you. And yeah.
Just jump into our first topic, which is going to be research assistantships and teaching assistantships. So I believe the question for you would be, during this time, how are grad students going to be finding these resources? Is there any resource that we can approach to get a research assistantship? How do we look for it? I think what are your thoughts on how to look for it?
So I had any advice I give you is also because of advice that I've received from other mentors in the past. And also I'll probably repeat stuff that it worked for me in my institutions, in my career path. It doesn't mean that it's applicable everywhere, but even if something doesn't sound like it's possible for you, think about how it could be modified to fit you, and talk to your mentor about it. Like, oh, I heard about this, because different institutions work differently. like state universities, community colleges work differently, private universities work differently. So yeah, just, you know, and if you're in the chat, if you want to interrupt me, please just like, I'm used to teaching, I'm used to like interruptions, and I love interruptions because it makes it more conversationally. So if you have any questions that you want to jump in, and just feel free to do so. Yeah, so I mean, when I was an undergrad back in the day, I had one mentor that told me, it's like, Jorge, like, you should never pay for grad school, like never, don't pay for it, because there's so many opportunities and there are so many resources there, especially in the STEM field. So that's science, technology, engineering, and math. So make sure that's your starting point. So if anyone, like, the first thing you hear is like, oh, you know, it's going to be expensive, always shift and say, well, there might be resources, and then look for those. And there's always people that, you know, you can contact about this. But yeah, so research and assistantships, and, you know, those are the two most popular mechanisms to get funding when you are looking for grad school, right? So, and those can be, so when you apply for a grad program, in ecology, I don't know all the other fields here, but in ecology is very popular that you email a person that you want to work with ahead of time to see, you know, there's many things that you can, in that email, it's like to see if they have space, to see if they're actually going to be eligible to take a grad student. There's limits onto how many students a faculty can take per year, or if it's their turn to take a student that year. So, you know, sometimes when they say no, it doesn't mean that they don't like you. There's so many layers behind that. But to that, you know, there's always, if there's a will, you know, it can be done. So it's always good to push. And so you ask you know, if they don't have funding, you can always ask the person's like, well, you know, what type of funding is available. And if they have a grant, then they might have an RA, a research assistantship that they can put you in, and that RA-ship is going to be tied to that specific grant, that project. So, but you can always do a little side projects with your fellow grad students. And then TA-ships, those are the ones that usually the department has to support grad students when the faculty doesn't have an RA-ship. And they usually do have more of those because the labs of like the classes are being taught by grad students, so they can add you to that. You can be TAs of I went to state universities, Arizona State, University of Washington, University of Texas, El Paso. So there's always a need for TAs to help with like the 300 students taking the class. So yeah, and they should pay equally, you know, because all the grad students are the same. But there's always a difference, you know, between the grants or the TA-ship funding. Obviously, the TA-ships they take away time from your research. But you know, that's what a lot of people say. But I like to see it as, you know, you're actually gaining a skill and getting paid for it. So whenever you graduate, you're not going to be one of these students that was on an RA and never got teaching experience. So, because now you can get many jobs, you know, there's always a need for teachers or instructors or people that want to educate. So if you get a TA-ship, don't be disappointed. Look at it at the bright side. You know, it might take time away from research, but in the end, grad school is about time management. So you have to learn how to manage your time. If you're going to be given a TA-ship, be grateful, and, you know, learn that skill. And you might learn that you don't like teaching, which is also a very good thing, because we don't want you to teach if you don't like teaching. So, because we also have examples of bad teachers, right? So we don't want those. So I think it's an opportunity to learn both. And research assistantships are good too, but you will also then be more on the tied to this research project, and there's more timelines, there's more deadlines, there's more other PIs that you might have to work with across the nation. You might depend on a lab to send you samples before you get to yours. But they do have that flexibility of designing your own time schedule. But again, it comes down to time management, right? Some people say like, oh, well, RA-ships, they don't have responsibilities. They have more free time. They can work from everywhere. But, sometimes you see the people with the RA-ships like working late in lab because they were hiking in the morning. And so it's, it's all about time management in grad school. And, the ones that, I don't know if you have this in your list of topics, but, those are the institutional ones. And then there's always external funding that you should always, 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 always apply for.
That is our next topic, actually.
Postdoc
fellowships and grants. We can also talk about grad school fellowships and grants, because I have a lot of friends and I know a lot of people that are actually in their last year of PhD and they're looking for postdoc opportunities, and they had a lot of questions about how do we go about finding fellowships and grants when they graduate. So that is our next topic, and that was a really wonderful explanation about time management. I get that, because I have to rotate my schedule around my lab, my experiment that I'm planning to do and my schedule changes every week, because every week I do a different thing. So I need to make sure I have time for my classes, I have time for my other stuff. So time management is definitely key for grad school. I do agree with that.
Yes. Yeah, so in terms of fellowships, and there's also a lot of fellowships for grad school, right? And they're all due at the same time, which is weird, but it's good also. Like the Ford Fellowship, the Ford Foundation. It's the Ford Foundation. You have the NSF GRFP. I think you have, what's the other one? I keep forgetting another one. There's three main ones. I think it's a NASA. NASA has one too, if I remember correctly. And if you know of other ones, put it in the chat so other students can hear it and see it. But those offer like 3 years of funding, for example. And that's also a good point you brought up. So whenever you apply to grad school, make sure you read your contract on how many years the RA-ship or the TA-ship or the fellowship will cover. Because in some institutions, they're like, oh, well, we cover your first 4 years, and then you have to find your own funding, or your PI will have to find your funding for the 5th year, for example, or your last year, whatever it is. And so that's, make sure you read that. There's also like some fellowships like the NSF. It's, I think it's 3 years. When I got it, a long time ago, it was, you got it for 5 years, but then you get to distribute within those 5 years, which 3 years you want to use it. So you could pause it, you can use an RA-ship for a year and then pause it again, or so you can, it's all about management. So in grad school also, people need to learn finances, learn your personal finances, because it's a job, treat it like a job. Anyway, so there's a lot of fellowships also within the undergrad time. But if you're going into, your postdoc, it's good to also, there's also a lot of finishing fellowships for PhD students. So, for example, at Arizona State, you could apply for a 1-year funding within your program to pay you just to write. So that's, so make sure you take advantage of that too. Look at your school and what they offer for grad school funding. And when I say look at your school, I mean, schools, you all are in school, right? So, or if you're not, but you've been to a school, if you're in this YouTube video, it's like the big school, like you have the name, right? It's like, oh, university, let's say I was at Arizona State, so Arizona State University. And then they have the Department of Grad Studies. So that's the administration that functions to like keep grad students, alive and working and fight for you. they might have funding. And then let's say you're in the Department of Ecology. So then the Department of Ecology might also have funding for you. And then the Department of Ecology is under the College of Humanities and Sciences. Look for funding also over there. So don't limit yourself to be like, I only depend on my PI. You know, and your PI, don't fault them if they don't know. The PI also has so many things to do, so many, ridiculously, too many things to do, that they also trust you that you're an adult and that you'll be also helping your PI how to get more funding. So your PI might not know all the resources in school. So, you know, just be like, hey, I found this pot of money here. So can we look for that? So then, yeah, so they're finishing fellowships. NSF used to have one, they took it down. And then for postdoc fellowships, again, I think NSF has one, a really good one. NASA has a very good one too. And you can just look up like NSF postdoc, NASA postdoc. The Ford Foundation has a very good one too. And a lot of schools actually now have fellowships for incoming postdocs. So Stanford just started one last year. I think it's in the Woods Institute of the Environment. Arizona State has one because one of my friends got that postdoc fellowship. So but it's always good to apply for all of them, right? And it sounds like a lot of work, but you're pretty much submitting similar proposals to all of them. You're just tailoring to what they want to, what they're looking for. So like NASA might ask, how will you use remote sensing? And even if you're a biogeochemist, you can still use remote sensing. So just add it to that. If you're applying for, anything, you can tailor your proposals. And so, yeah, fellowships for postdocs are good. There's also, I think more commonly, you have PIs that will need postdocs. So they also have research positions for postdocs. So always ask a PI, especially new PIs. They might want a postdoc, so you can help them set up their lab, help in mentoring students. I don't have any postdoc experience. I jumped from my PhD to a job with a nonprofit organization doing science policy. And then after 3 years, I came back to academia. So make sure that you do talk to someone with postdoc experience on how that, what's the postdoc experience like, because I've heard some goods and bads, so make sure you get some input from a postdoc person.
Okay, I think I unmuted myself now. I think that would be one of our next webinars, to talk to a postdoc. But yeah. That was a lot of really good resources, and like you said, finances are really important. And from my side, in the biology side of things, I'm a microbiologist. So for me, all of the programs I look for are typically fully funded, but there are programs that have fellowships that offer only 3 years, and then the last year you gotta find your PI and have them give you funding. But again, it's really important to manage your finances. And as an international student, I can tell you it's really, really important, because you're here, you gotta take care of a lot more things than people who already are settled here. So make sure you have all those finances set up. Next topic we have is paper publishing. This goes for starting from anybody who's planning to apply to grad school to who are already in grad school. Paper publishing is common for everybody. And during this lockdown, a lot of things have changed, especially with the research being stopped and the data collection being stopped, and also a lot of loss of funding. So my question to you would be, if you know any good journals that are offering like assistantships, funding assistantships, or like giving open access at a lower cost for students to publish their research in.
Actually, yeah, no, I haven't led a publication this year, so I wouldn't know the answer to that on this specific case, but I can recommend you, one publication just came out, but I wasn't leading it. And it is open access. I think we published it in CBE, Life Sciences Education. And I think they made it open access because it is it is an education-focused research piece. Well, I think the title is like 14 recommendations on how to make our biology classrooms more LGBTQ plus inclusive. So I think the lead author, my friend Katie, I think she might have argued to get it open access so that it's available for everyone to see this valuable resource for education purposes. But yeah, no, I think that one I will have to pass because I don't know the answer to that. But I can point you to other people that there's a lot of people actually at ESA that are editors or assistant editors or reviewers for the ESA journals. So you could even bring someone from Frontiers and look up, I think in the first page, I have a Frontiers magazine around here, but look up on the first page of the Frontiers journal, you get to see the list of the members of their board and the reviewers. So just email one of them, and I think that's a really good webinar to have on, publication in the times of COVID-19. So it will be good to find out the answer. So
yeah, and that's another topic that we have now. I actually am trying to publish myself in the ESA Bulletin. I work with Teresa. I'm working with Teresa on a project right now, so I do know the editors at ESA, but unfortunately, they are really busy right now with everything with the annual meeting going on. So hopefully we can get them after the annual meeting. But yeah, I've been looking at a lot of different journals. A lot of new journals are popping up to help students publish their research. I know a recent journal that popped up in biomedical sciences that I actually joined to be a peer reviewer on. I thought that would be a nice experience to have. But they made everything open access. They offer funding to students to help publish their papers, open access. So, and I think the editor-in-chief is actually a Stanford professor or the chief editor. Yeah. So I was looking into that, and that's where I thought of the topic. Maybe you would know more journals. So I definitely will reach out to more people, but you did give us a couple of good resources. So
yeah, and also if you're a student, you should ask your department, if you're still in school and you're trying to publish your thesis, ask your department for funding. And also, remember, ask for all the levels. Ask at the human and humanities, and ask at the school level, at the college level, at the department level, at the PI level, at the department level. So they might have some funds there for public. And some professors do put publishing money in their grants also. So if they do, if you're an RA, that might be covered in that too. So check that out.
Next topic we wanted to discuss was the differences for all of these opportunities for international students. This is a hot topic now, and we have had a lot of questions. Yeah, so what I want to ask is there like a separate resources or like we can approach? I know the international office at every school has a lot of resources, but is there like any streamlined way, like particularly for ecology or biology related programs? If there's because the opportunities of international students get way less than, because we're not eligible for national grants and stuff like that. So would you know any like private grants or direct us to like resources that way?
Yeah, so I think that there are some, I'm a dual citizen, so I have that privilege of having the double citizenship. So I don't have the experience of being an international student or applying for international grants. But for example, like the NSF is also just for citizens as well, or like residents. And I believe the Ford Foundation, and it's also, we have to mention also the undocumented people as well, right? So that they're here and what opportunities are available for them as well. And I know like the Ford Foundation is available for them. There are some private foundations, and I'm trying to remember, I also have friends that I can refer this to, and I can send a list to you later if you want to post it. But in ecology, I cannot think of a group that's focusing on this, but it's a very good topic because there are many international ecology researchers here in the US. But there are some, like, again, if you're already in the school, and whatever school you are, usually all their grants will be already available to you because you're within their system. So they should be able to offer you the same level of support as they offer to, non-international students, so domestic people. And these are, like, they can be fellowships for research, they can be TA-ships, and RA-ships should be also, you should be able to be hired in these positions as well. But yeah, and in these times, I know with the recent, administration decisions that are coming out of DC, there was a lot of movement around how do we keep supporting our international students. So a lot of schools, here at Stanford, we have our own Office of International Student Support, and they joined that lawsuit against the administration along with the other universities. And a lot of our grad student population here is international, so there are a lot of support for them here. So make sure you look up first at your your institutional Office of International Support, because they're going to have the best information. And all of this varies within state. Remember, the US there's many different policies between states and how they support. And so make sure you always check your institution first. And then if not, just, ask someone in the field, your mentor, or just put it on Twitter, and the ESA community will come and help you for sure.
Yeah, I think I saw that Twitter feed about like a lot of professors coming out to help their international students, offering them positions. That was a really touching moment. And I think that is also another great resource in Twitter. While it is social media, happens to be a really good resource for international students and just grad students in general to find opportunities and meet PIs and learn about new research. So that is also a really good resource. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like this content, please subscribe to our YouTube channel for more, and definitely don't forget to check out our website, which will be linked in the description box below, for events from the student section and also more information about the 2020 ESA annual meeting. Our website will have all events the ESA student section is conducting during the annual meeting and more, so please do come check us out, and see you next time.